So, Docker, 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 Docker.
Cloud, 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 cloud.
Docker, 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 Docker. Lambda. Okay. So hello, my name is Charles Ruffino. I'm a technical solutions consultant for SaltStack, and or SaltStack sales engineer, as it says right there. And my cohort with me, Robert Booth.
I am out of Texas, just north of Austin and Round Rock, and
West Coast, Southern California, the nice weather. So today we're talking to you about SaltStack orchestration for microservices and containers. Obviously, you've heard the word Docker once or twice. It does not necessarily all mean Docker when it comes to these things. But first of all, what is a microservice? It's a service that's little bitty, right? Something very tiny. Or maybe it's just discrete tasks completing one or two things at a time, doing something specific. Same thing. What is a container? It's a section of stuff that allows you to put stuff into it. Kind of like this. So some people, though, with their containers, they like to put a bunch of stuff in them, kind of like that. Some people, though, they say, you know what? I want this little bitty container to be filled with something closer to this. Everyone does a whole bunch of different stuff depending on whatever they need to do, and being that this is IT, and we're here to do things really a specific way, the way that we want to, based on our business use cases and needs, we do this, or we shove the chicken in it, right? So, but at the end of the day, we still need to get stuff done. And right now, a lot of technologies are moving us into the direction of wanting to orchestrate all the things. SaltStack specifically allows you to do that very easily, very elegantly. And we're going to show you a bit of that today. So, for the, how many of you are familiar with or have never seen Salt? You've been here all week long? You're doing it wrong. So, anyway, there are a lot of different modules to the SaltStack infrastructure, and each of these pieces obviously are able to kind of bolt on top of each other based on whatever it is that you need to do at the time that you need to do it. And cover a lot of different functional tasks with a lot of different platforms, on-premise, in the cloud, everywhere else, whatever you need to do. Salt is remote execution on steroids without all the jitters or any of the roid rage. Not a single laugh. That's awesome.
It's after lunch. Oh.
So maybe the demo will be a little better. I'm going to roll over here and we'll shoot this together. So now actually, can you zoom in on the phone number? So last year, Dave Boucher had a presentation where he put a phone number on screen and said, everybody start texting words or pictures or whatever you want to this phone number. So when I first saw that presentation and I took a look at what he did in the background, this was right when beacons and reactors and engines and all those things were just being released. So last SaltConf, which just so happened to be my first day of employment here at SaltStack. Can you say fire hose to the face, anyone? So anyway, as he went through the presentation, I was really amazed by it because well, obviously, we're interacting with the Twilio API and getting things to move or dynamically show up on this web page, right? So Rob and I wanted to do something very similar using those pieces that Dave wasn't able to utilize last year. So runners and beacons and all the other pieces of Salt, really, that are core Salt without necessarily coding it right into the page. So that's what we're going to do today. Very similarly, we have attached this web page to...
I'm going to zoom out.
Yeah.
I just want to warn everyone, if you're going to participate in texting. Be nice, okay? The information will be provided. It'll be shown up on the screen here. We are recording it, so let's be good citizens here. It's going to be fun, though. Let's see.
So we've got a couple of containers sitting on a couple of different platforms out in the cloud. Google Compute Engine, Amazon Web Services, DigitalOcean, and Linode. And we have essentially a little page on each of those in a Docker container on each of those platforms. And they're all feeding, each page is essentially feeding into this one local page that's sitting on Rob's device right there. So as you begin, if anyone wants to send a word, the phone number is 714-500-7559. As Rob mentioned, please be gentle. Help.
I think they're already.
Good.
Someone needs help.
Yep. So we're going to roll through, or actually show you everything that we did to get this to show up in this manner. It's all using the standard salt functionality, which, I mean, really, standard salt functionality can be anything from pure Python code to text files that are being pulled from or whatever, right?
All right. So I'll get into what's going on in the background here. How many people are familiar with AWS's Lambda service? Okay. How many like it? Or like the idea of it? Okay. So I'm with you. I like the idea of putting code in a place and having it execute, having an API. Let me ask you, what are some of the issues that you might have with it?
Getting all the guys familiar with how VPCs work and how to get external internet gateways and all the headache of running the entire system just to get one running process.
Okay.
And it's stuck on Python too.
Okay. All righty. So one of the issues I have a friend that works for Amazon, and him and I go back and forth about Lambda quite a bit. And it's a great concept. It's great how, if you're not familiar with it, let me explain what it is. What it allows you to do is, in different languages, Node.js or Python or whatnot, to take a single method and put it into a repository, and you strap on an API to the front of it in Amazon. And when your application calls that API, it'll pass on the information to that single method call. Amazon in the background will take that Python code, spin up a container, execute that Python code, and return the results back to you. Okay? After 5 minutes of no calls coming in, it shuts down the container. Okay? So it's pretty efficient. The problem that I have with it is if you invest in this, if you design your application on it, you're kind of locked into that architecture. So that's kind of what generated my thought process and Charles' thought process on, it's a great concept, this Lambda, to be able to put your code out there, have it execute using a Docker container, and have that information come back. So we decided, well, we can do this with, we have container orchestration in Salt, some kind of cool stuff there. So what we decided to do was use a Salt master, using the Twilio beacon. So at the beginning here, in the process, the beacon is checking out in Twilio, checking if there's any messages that you're sending in right now. It grabs that message down, and it puts it onto the event bus in Salt. There's a reactor that grabs it. The reactor then takes it and passes it over to a runner that I built. The runner, and all of this code, by the way, is available in a Git repo, and I'll provide that to you so you can check it out. The runner that I built will look for Docker hosts that are under my control in this master, in this Salt master environment. And it's going to look for Docker hosts that it has a grain set to Lambda equals true. So it only grabs certain Docker hosts in this. One of the Docker hosts is sitting in Linode, one of them sitting in AWS. So we have 2 different cloud environments. You can easily do it in DigitalOcean, Google Cloud Engine. I just didn't have those Docker hosts set up. So the runner will look for all of these Docker hosts and then randomly select one of them from that. It's going to call down to those Docker hosts. Now, one of the high states that runs on that Docker host copies down all my individual methods that I want to call that you would normally put into Lambda in AWS. So there's a small little Python script that I have for Giphy get. Okay, so the Giphy service to call out to the API, very small service. It's a microservice. It does a single task. You feed it a keyword, also a rating. So I found that that's really important with open audience.
Very important. We love you, but we know what you will do.
So these are all PG rated. The runner will execute on one of those Docker hosts to say, hey, execute this code. And what's going to happen at that time is the Docker host will spin up a new Docker container with an image that I have Python installed on. It will execute that code because it's going to mount that volume locally. It's going to execute the code, which will go out to Giphy get the URL, and bring that all the way back up to the runner. Then the runner takes that information and updates the web page with the URLs here. Okay? So that's the full life cycle that this is taking. The containers aren't running all the time. So you could have many different methods, and sometimes it's going to run on Linode, some of it's going to run on AWS or whatever cloud environment, if you want internal or whatever you're covering with Salt. So it's using a lot of different pieces. We're talking about reactors, we're talking about beacons, we have a runner here, and then we're just orchestrating the update of the content. Is that something that, and now I will say it's a little different than Amazon does it because I don't have my container up and running for 5 minutes. That's probably a little bit more performant than spinning up and dropping it down. This code is out there for you to do whatever you want. This was done for a demo. I don't run this, and I mean, we do this for our day job, showing off demos and showing off Salt. We got a pretty cool job to begin with, so. But really, this took us, what, 2 days?
Yeah.
Maybe. And the way Charles and I worked, that was probably maybe in 2 hours. The rest was...
I chase squirrels all day long.
Yeah.
So. I have ADD and OCD, so I kind of have to have everything in order, but just for a little while.
Yeah, we were having a lot of fun with Giphy at the time, so. All right, so are there any questions at this point before I pop open the runner and we start taking a look at what we're doing in the code?
Good idea.
How many think that's cool? No? Yeah. All right, cool stuff. I thought it was helpful. I mean, Lambda is the way that AWS put it out there for people to start. I don't know of another service like that until now. So I'm hoping we can get this more optimized from the community, kind of put something out there. And I'd be interested in hearing what you guys do with it if you go and actually do something like this, and because I will pass it on to my friend. I call him a friend. When we start talking about technical stuff, it kind of goes into a very dangerous area.
So you may notice also that only 2 of these are changing. That was due to our doing this and chasing squirrels all day long. We only loaded it on those 2 pages directly. However, obviously this is just a web page that could have very easily have been modified multiple times in any way, shape, or form as needed. But can we get the lights a little?
I also found out that Lambda is a keyword in Python. I knew this, but it still didn't stop me calling this Lambda. Didn't work. Why isn't this working? Yes, so here's the runner. I ended up calling it, oh, before I get into it, this repo here that I'm looking at, my GitHub is TreborTech. That's Robert spelled backwards, T-E-C-H. And it's in the salt-poc branch. Okay, that's where I put all the stuff I'm playing around with over there. Stop it. I'm not repeating that question or statement. How many folks have had experience making a runner? Okay. How about execution modules? Okay, everybody who raised their hand for execution module and didn't for runners, it's kind of the same thing. That's what's really kind of cool about it. Building this out, it was really easy. The different, if you don't know, a runner only executes on the master server. So that seemed like a great place to put this. So here's the runner. I give it the virtual, well, let me, better in the back? All right. TreborTech? Oh, salt-poc. Yep. The other thing is we did throw this code together pretty quick. So this is maybe his version of POC code. It was just thrown together. So please don't beat up my Python skills. I did a lot of copy pasting. And I mean, there's stuff that we could have done better. I hard coded a few things in here, like targeting Lambda true. This first part here, underscore get Lambda host, this is what I use to find all the Docker hosts that are in my environment to have a grain set for Lambda equals true. And then I do my random choice down here. And this method is actually being called by this Giphy get, where it gets fed in the keyword. So I'm getting the Lambda host here. And this next part, this is, again, I was talking actually, this was what I was talking to you guys about this morning, about calling out to Docker and executing the commands. Now, I'm not using our Docker ng module for this. I probably could have. As we were putting this together, I couldn't quite figure out the right syntax for it, so I dropped down to our awesome command.run. 1 to 2 seconds, I'll save myself. Well, you know, you need that Giphy image back quick, right? All right. So here I'm running, this would be the Docker command that you would run from the command line to the first part here. It's going to mount /code, which is a volume that I have all the Lambda code pushed down to the Docker host, and I'll show you that in a second. This is the image that I have in Docker Hub, and it's a public image. All it has, I did a Ubuntu 14.04 box and threw Python on it. And then here I'm calling the actual code inside the container, feeding it in the keyword that was presented. It brings back the information, which the only thing it's really providing back is going to be the URL. I add these other things in here, the host that it's calling, because I use the host later to find out what web page we're going to update, okay, which Docker host executed. Probably not important for you. But the keyword and that, and we return that. This other part, this is what we're using to actually update the web page. It's sort of a compromise that we came to on making this work. So here in my Lambda, whenever I set up my Docker host to be able to execute this Lambda code, the first thing I need to do is make sure that that Docker's installed and my image is downloaded. And that's what this does here. And the next part copies down all of the Lambda code. Now in Amazon, you would take this code and feed it up into their repo. I think they got versioning in it now. You can use all the versioning stuff now in Salt, the GitFS backend, and all your version here instead of coming up with another version control system, which was another thing that I had an issue with on the way. That service is growing though. It is a good service. I don't mean to knock it, but it has some pieces that didn't quite please me. So here's the Lambda code directory. I only have one method in there, and it's the Giphy get. Very simple API call. Actually, it was when I put this together, it was I was expecting to have to get some authentication key, do a session key, send it back and forth. Yeah, you just send it all in the URL in HTTP. So that works. So what this is doing is this first part I probably could take out. I put it in there because I was doing some troubleshooting. It's taking the keyword that you're feeding into it, and if you feed it in several words, it's just going to grab the first one. So I'm just splitting it and grabbing the first word, and then I'm feeding that into the URL to search Giphy with the API key, the rating PG. This offset wasn't working for me. I'm not sure why. I haven't got into that. So the question was, does the rating that I set here, if he passes in through, okay, so you're talking about hacking my which is fair game. Yeah, I'm definitely, again, not security even focused here. Would it overwrite it? I guess if you did some kind of injection here, I don't know. Why don't you try it? But do it PG, do it G rating or something. I don't know. Oh, actually, it's not going to come back and let you know. Yeah. Only you, Daniel. So, so what happens here is it returns. When it comes back, this response is going to come back as a JSON set of data. And I have this random not choice here, because when it comes back, when you feed Giphy a keyword, it's going to give you a list back of, I think by default, 20 images that match it, and you can randomly select which one. The thing is, they're in exactly the same order every single time, and I had to put something in here because when I was typing in win, I kept getting Beyonce every time, and that was getting tiring. So this does a random to grab something from the list, and then it just pulls out the URL from it and returns the URL, which then pieces it together in that dictionary that I have with the keyword and the Lambda host. And you can run this. What's nice about this here is for troubleshooting, it was great because I just put a main in here, and I can run this independent. I don't need to run this inside of a Docker container to test it. I can just call this normally like a regular Python piece of code. All right, so that's from end to end. Did I miss anything? You guys kind of got the understanding of end to end. So we have a little bit more than 15 minutes open. Let's jump back to the web page and see what kind of, oh, we have prints.
Prints.
All right.
Rest
Okay,
in
somebody
peace.
did try overriding your rating. And I don't think it was going to work. Actually, oh, I don't know. Look at this. I love a technology group, tech group. I love this. We already have another attempt. That's great. And we got keyword R. So this was just a really simple example of microservices. Now, in a real environment, I think this idea of microservices is smart. Trying to force your application sometimes, as Charles was indicating earlier, trying to shove it into a wagon that's, you know, made for a kid, probably not the not the best thing. So you have to be kind of smart when you're breaking your application into microservices. I think as you're beginning to get into the space and building Docker images and stuff like that,
Any container-based.
Not
necessarily just Docker.
Yeah, Docker, Cloud, Lambda. Yeah. So, are there any questions on what we covered?
Say it.
I can open up other stuff. I can open up the event bus. We can check out the event bus as the stream's coming in. Would that be something you want to see? All right.
We have a question right here. Go ahead.
Thank you. Is that on? Yeah, the question I had was, you're using SaltRunners here, right? Can you use Salt Reactor instead of Runner?
Okay, so let me open that up. What server are we on? That's my other demo. Okay, so we are using a reactor here, and a reactor is calling a runner. So the reactor should be very lightweight. You shouldn't, and correct me if I'm wrong, gurus, but how I've been advised is a reactor should be very lightweight to pass off to another process inside of Salt. You shouldn't do a lot of logic and work inside of that. All right, so right. It's a blocking process, so you want to pass it off somewhere else. All right, let me, so go ahead. All right, looks like someone, let me remove this bottom one, or move it down. Okay, the events are coming in. Taylor Swift is a keyword. And I want to be careful what I show here because Twilio puts your phone number up here as well.
I'm going to change it all anyway. It's no big.
No, their phone number.
Oh, their phone number. Never mind.
I don't think you're going to change their phone number.
Yeah, I'll change all your phone numbers later. Salt is amazing.
So let me break this. And let's take a look at what was going on here for the jobs. So we'll start here. Oh, sorry, whoever that is. Was that you? Sorry, I apologize.
Well, the tag at the bottom is enough to provide the result. I mean, the thing that we were
Yeah,
looking
yeah,
for.
I know. So right above here at the top is going to be the Twilio message that comes in. We're matching on that tag that comes in.
Salt beacon, salt master, Twilio _text_message.
It's going to send it, the reactor is going to send it over to the runner. The minion that answers this, I'm trying to figure out, so I know that's going to be my AWS minion, which gets a new job. This is that Docker run, mounting the local volume. This is the container with the tag, and it's going to execute Python giffiget, shameless. That information comes back. Let me see here. The system's going to generate another event to send this information over to update web page. Here's the pillar information that I'm sending over to update web page, and I'll open up update web page in a second so we can take a look at that. Here's the Lambda host that returned it, the keyword, and the URL that came back. So right here is my Salt Masters running my Nginx that has the web page that's on there. And this is all the updates that are being done to AWS HTML.
Put a little Jinja in the web page, pop the pillar right in. Voila.
Yeah, all right. I did update it over here. And here is the update.
So the Jinja at the top, we utilize this in a manner where if the information is not being pulled from pillar the first time, we're setting it by default. Obviously, when you spin up a website, you want to be able to see the nice, pretty pictures the first time. And if it's a dynamic site, then utilize this in a manner that allows you to send the pillar data whenever it's required. And then it goes through and sets all the pieces that it needs to. And again, we got lazy and only put it on 2 of these instead of the 5 that we were planning on doing. But
yeah.
Yes.
So this was more of a, what you could do with the tools that are available to you in Salt, of touching a lot of different pieces in a system. And this was really easy to put together. Charles and I working together, we chase a lot of squirrels, especially when Giphy came into this. That's where we went
It was bad.
way off.
It was really bad.
We were trying to one-up each other all day long. How about this? We have a Slack channel that just, it's called Squirrel. So, all right. Is there any other questions? Do you want me to open up? Did I explain enough of the code areas?
You want to show them the reactor? I mean, it's all of one line.
Sure, absolutely.
Well, 2 lines.
Where do I have the reactor?
You put it in Etsy saltmaster.d.
Oh,
reactor
I'm sorry.
on top.
I'm in the wrong level.
Oh, no, you put it there.
That is a very simple reactor. Charles, got a question back there.
Regarding the host that you're using to spin up the Docker containers, is it on EC2 that you have the instance that spins up the Docker containers?
So the question is, the Docker host that I have, is it on an EC2 instance? Yes. I'm not using AWS's Lambda service for this. No, it's running all the time, which is a little different. Amazon's going to charge you per, I think you get like 10,000 calls into their service for Lambda. I think you get 10,000 for free right now is the development. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so, but what you could do with this is you can orchestrate all of that. You could use Salt Cloud in this to sit there and say, I want to make sure, if I'm not getting any API calls between midnight and 4 in the morning, I don't want these instances running. And you go out to Amazon and DigitalOcean and all of these and just shut them down. Either stop them or just shut them down completely, destroy them. And stopping them, yeah, you'll still pay a little bit for it, but I know in Amazon it's fairly inexpensive. And then this allows you to do, you know, this is a micro instance in Amazon, and it's a very small one in DigitalOcean or Linode. Yeah, there's a lot more optimization that they have. I mean, it is an enterprise-focused service. I would guess. How about this? I'm not giving up work on this. I'm doing this just to prove a point at this time, because I feel like the power that Salt has, all the functions, the core of the system, the orchestration that we provide, all of this, you can do that. You can manage those Docker containers and orchestrate the instances getting spun up and spun down, and also monitor with beacons which ones are being overloaded, and maybe there's there's network latency over in Amazon, and you want to move to Rackspace or DigitalOcean or something like that, and you can shift your load over there. I feel like, well, I know that Salt has all the tools available to do it. It's what I can do with the tool. That's my limitation. It's not Salt at all. So I'm hoping to get this to a state that as we start up sessions like that, I'll have a little icon on the side of other instances popping up. Maybe things are taking too long and it needs to scale out. I know Daniel up here provided me a demo a while ago of you doing that, orchestrating boxes going up and coming down. He's going to be showing that later, after this one. So right after this one, he's going to have a presentation where he shows orchestrating the boxes getting spun up depending on load. So I'm going to steal his code and put it in here. Borrow code?
So it has my API keys in it.
I'll bring it right up.
No, yeah, thanks. I appreciate that. Just go to docs.saltstack.com and hit the Twilio beacon. It's exactly what was listed there. So we put it in Pillar because it's a lot easier to handle than actually writing a file on the master or whatever. I like it there, and we tie everything back to GitHub so we can very easily. No, it's actually the other one.
Which one is it?
Yeah, Twilio _text_MSG. I know. I have to change it anyway.
What API key did I show?
It's on film, so as soon as we're done here, I'm deleting it.
I don't know which API key. The Giphy API key?
No, my Twilio from the response, whenever you were showing the other piece. Which is fine.
Sorry.
No, it's no worries.
Good catch.
But it's essentially just like this. And in fact, we have multiple beacons in there because we have other, like a service beacon, WTMP or whatever. But the interval, obviously you can change that as well, make it a little bit faster. I think we put ours to 5 seconds or 2 seconds or something like that. But, yep. Any other questions? 5 minutes out.
All right, well, again, I'm on Twitter at TrevorTech. My GitHub is TrevorTech. That's Robert spelled backwards. It's up there. And also, please provide us some feedback on this session if this was helpful to you, if it covered what you were expecting, and if it wasn't covering what you expected, if you actually got something that you liked in return. So thanks again for coming. Woo-hoo.